All right. I am the host. That guy over there in outer space is the big skinny, and down there at the bottom, wearing the University of Nevada, to go along with Kobe and LeBron, who are with us. They are with us. Welcome to the West Coast Heat Check. In reality, I'm Nick Rice. That guy's Stephen Hughes. And that guy down there is Robert Dieters. I'll start with you, Stephen. When it comes to the biggest nerds in basketball, I thought I was the biggest, but you're pretty smart yourself.
I would say kind of smart. I got some good opinions, and I got some opinions that will piss some of you off. So I hope you all are ready to join the ride.
Well, you figured out a way to go to outer space, so I'm already kind of intrigued. Robert, there's a couple of kids from the University of Nevada and the NBA. I don't know why you're not there, but you know what? You're pretty good at playing basketball yourself.
Well, hey, not as good as Cody and Caleb Martin, but shout out to my boy Jalen Harris. He did get drafted second to last pick in this recent NBA draft and went to the Toronto Raptors. Have not yet to see him play, but I'm waiting for that moment.
Well, it certainly sounds pretty good. This is January 20th, 2021, and I speak for all of us that we're really excited to get this thing started. The West Coast Heat Check. It's your NBA recap. We go all across the NBA, but specifically the Western Conference is what we'll get, into more than anything. And the Heat Check means we're going to take a look at who's hot and who's not. That's coming up later in the episode. But first, we got to mention the inauguration. We got a new president now, and we certainly, all of us, hope that that means great things in America coming up in the future. And also, when it comes to the NBA, you got to believe that somebody's going to talk about it. We'll break it down as soon as they do. In terms of headlines for the NBA, we just are going live after an incredible game was played between Brooklyn and Cleveland. I'll start with you, Steven. It was a double overtime game, but more than anything, for Brooklyn, despite the loss, it looked like points came easy for that team.
Yeah, I'm never gonna. I don't think with the addition of James Harden and Kyrie Irving coming back, I don't think that'll ever be the issue. My biggest concern is going to come down to crunch time when we start getting to the games that really matter later down the line in the season. Once you get into the playoffs, you're talking about three guys that if they're kind of like their own man, like the one man show on their respective team, like Kyrie was at Boston, like KD was in OKC for a little bit until Russ has come up, and then for James Harden in Houston, these are guys that they have the ball during crunch time within the last 2 minutes of a game. And now you're asking one or two of them to just kind of sit in the corner when one of them is going to have the ball. So that's going to be my biggest concern. Also with Kyrie and Harden, they're kind of similar players. So you're going to have to, there are going to be times where, you know, who's going to have the ball when they're on the court. So I think Kyrie's going to have his own minutes to shine. James Harden's going to have the same, but I think this game is a tough game. The Cavs, we'll talk about it throughout the show. The Cavs are a decent team, and respect to them. Props to them for really grinding this one out tonight. But I don't think of this game as a big blemish for the Nets. It was a hard fought game.
Yeah, usually it's not that interesting, and not that important to get into specific regular season games. But you mentioned the crunch time. To end regulation in this game, Kyrie Irving commits a turnover on a driving, attempt, and then in overtime, Durant missed a jumper to win it. There was two chances for Brooklyn to win this game. Cleveland's Colin Sexton goes wild to win it, 147, 135 for the Cavaliers. Is that, Robert, at all concerning for you that Brooklyn dropped this game?
Not really. This is an early part of the season. The team's still forming. You saw two of their guys from Brooklyn go to Cleveland, which was Prince and Allen, and I bet they had a good feeling about winning this game. But this three is going to connect. They're going to get it rolling. I mean, they all got 20 or more points tonight, and they were looking lethal. But shout out to Colin Sexton. That's a man that we're going to underappreciate. He got over 40 points tonight. I just think DeAndre Jordan kind of getting back into the mix of things, and that starting lineup is going to have to slowly click. But they did get all double digits. That bench, though, is what's going to be the most concerning part to me going into this season for Brooklyn, because I don't know if they're going to have enough depth if someone goes down. Who are they really going to bring up and call? So that's what I'm worried with Brooklyn. but this team is scary, and watch out, they're going to get first in the East. Calling it early.
So you are a Warriors fan. That is something that we need to get out in the open right away. By the way, I actually don't know this, Steven. What's your favorite NBA team?
It's got to be the Warriors.
Oh,
I
the
have
Warriors too. Okay.
Yeah, I have a personal experience in which my middle school team was invited to Oracle Arena. This was in between the We Believe season and the time that Steph started to come up, kind of got past those ankle injuries and has become the superstar he is today. But I want to make one more quick point. Just kind of go off of what Robert said. DeAndre Jordan, we're starting to talk about hypotheticals. The Nets are definitely a contender out of the East. And we would probably say right now the Lakers are the team that are going to come out of the West for the NBA Finals. I'm a little concerned about DeAndre Jordan being the guy who's going to be guarding AD because I think of him over the last year or so as kind of an average center. And in a situation between him and AD, he's kind of a liability. So that's another concern I have with the Nets moving forward. Hopefully, with the trade deadline getting closer, I believe it's going to be in March this year with how funky the scheduling is this season. Hopefully, the Nets get someone that could be reliable defensively against a guy like AD because you got to think of the hypotheticals like that.
That's interesting. Part of the reason why I brought up the Warriors, and it's great to know that both of you guys are Warrior fan. Don't have to try and figure out what else is going on. And this way, me being a Laker guy, I can trash both of you at once. But anyways, when it comes to the Warriors, Robert, I wanted to ask you this particular question. So you were a huge fan when the Warriors had strength in numbers. And then, of course, Kevin Durant, which wasn't so much strength in numbers because the bench wasn't quite what it was before. So Brooklyn doesn't have a very thick bench per se. Do you feel like the Nets will be better off having more depth and maybe trade a Kyrie or keep him on the team and just go 7 or 8 deep every game?
I think you keep Kyrie, but I think to point out to Steven here, they need I think more of a veteran coming off that bench. I think that's gonna be more of a necessity. I think they need someone who's gonna put them in line, gonna keep them in check. I mean, we saw Joe Harris come off the bench tonight. I don't know if that's gonna be normal or not for Brooklyn. That is gonna be normal going forward. Joe Harris has to be that scoring option coming off the bench. And it's scary when you go 2 for 10 and you play for 42 minutes. I mean, I know he's not going to get that many shot attempts, but when you do, you need to take advantage of that. And if Joe Harris can't be that guy, it's a scary look. Brooklyn, I know, is still gonna have to work on team chemistry, and that chemistry is going to build. But I don't want to see Brooklyn resting Harden one night, Kyrie one night, KD one night, even DeAndre Jordan one night, and they got Green two out there who could be their starting power forward, who could be guarding AD as well, and that's still scary for them. I think they just need to get one more veteran guy. I think a defender specifically, and the chemistry will build as the season continues.
With that said, are you taking the Nets out of the East?
No, I'm not taking the Nets out. No,
Ooh, all right. I guess we're gonna have to go into that later. Steven, are you the same way?
For as of right now, I would probably go with the Nets. I think that like like Robert said, I think Joe Harris is going to kind of get the short end of the stick here. He's not playing all that well. He's lost his starting position as the main shooting guard with James Harden coming in, and now with him being cold, the Nets are going to be looking at some other options. I mentioned the trade deadline. Another Rocket that could be on the move is PJ Tucker, who is just a reliable 3-point shooter that's on a Rockets team that as of right now, it doesn't look like they're going really anywhere. They don't look like they have playoff aspirations. So keep it PJ Tucker, keep his name in mind in trades in the next month or so, possibly to the Nets, possibly to a couple other teams in the East, or maybe stay in the West. We'll just have to wait and see.
That's interesting. Speaking of teams that have no shot to make the playoffs, the Golden State Warriors, Steve Kerr, made an interesting comment earlier today. I'm actually surprised none of you stopped me when I said the Warriors have no shot for the playoffs. They are 7-7, I believe. So it's not like they're that far off. They've won 7 of 11. And Steve Kerr earlier today talked about, he doesn't like the lineups he's at right now. He wouldn't love it if the playoffs started today. Steph Curry's been amazing. How amazing has he been, Robert, in the first quarter of the season?
I think he's been fantastic. I mean, he really has to carry the team right now. It's weird to see not Clay Thompson, no Clay Thompson on the court with him right now. But I know Warriors fans right now, I feel like are more concerned with Draymond Green and his production. He doesn't have to put up the stats to really prove he's such a great player on that Warriors team. He shows it by being a leader. He shows by passing the ball. He doesn't have to take wide open threes all the time. People are like, why does he just take that three? Well, he's going to give it to Wiggins, or he's going to give it. I mean, Oubre was struggling from the three, but now he's starting to get in the rhythm of it. But with the bench side of it, Damon Lee has really, I believe, stepped up. And we have Brian Wanamaker, who is new to the Golden State Warriors. A lot of people don't forget he's really on this team, but I think he really complements Steph Curry. Brian Wanamaker doesn't have to be the guy that shoots the ball when he comes in with Steph. He's more just passing to Steph Curry to get that open shot. But Steph over 28 points averaging this season. He's coming back into his, I think, MVP type of season. I think he wants to prove people wrong. And this is the way to do it. By the way, I do want to correct myself. I thought you meant, do you want me to take the Nets out of being the number one in the East? I am taking them as my number one. That is a correction.
What did you think I said?
I thought you said take them out of the East. And I was like, no, I want to keep them as number one.
Oh,
That's what that was just clarification.
oh my goodness. Well, we're off and rolling here on our first episode of West Coast Heat Check. Steven, I'm sure you've watched a lot of that rookie from Memphis, James Wiseman. What are your thoughts of his game so far?
I mean, the Warriors, their biggest need over the last couple seasons has been a guy down low. I mean, in that Raptors NBA final series, we needed someone that could kind of contain Marc Gasol a bit when it was in Siakam or Leonard having the ball and distributing and getting the points. We needed that guy down low. And I think that the Warriors have, for right now, they've found a good solution with James Wiseman. And I think over the course of this season, we'll definitely bring up his name again with the stats he's putting up right now as a possible Rookie of the Year contender.
Yeah, for a guy that barely even played in college, he has looked phenomenal coming out. I mean, I thought everyone had this speculation his first two games. He's doing really well. He's going to be Rookie of the Year. And then we see good old LaMelo Ball doing his thing in Charlotte. But a lot of people are going to speculate that maybe the Warriors are going to pick between Oubre or Wiggins because Oubre contract is coming up. Wiggins is still going to be on the roster for a while. I just think they're going to do a toss-up between those two players, but I think Oubre is going to be the guy out because I think Wiggins is going to be more essential on the defensive side / offensive side. When Klay Thompson does come back, he's going to bring that defensive presence. And I think when you have Wiseman who can get the blocks, you got Draymond who already plays fantastic defense. You're going to have Wiggins as well, who's a two-way wing guy. And then you also have Klay Thompson who can shoot the ball and defend. So this Warriors team for next season is really getting ready to go. But to people to say that they're not a playoff team, come on, man. Come on. The Warriors are going to do – they literally came back from a 19 and 22 point deficit against both LA teams. If that's not showing that they don't have the heart and soul to make it to the playoffs this season, I don't know what to tell you guys.
I'm a Laker guy. I didn't bring that up earlier. All right. Well, on that very devastating note, let's go ahead and change topics here and take a look at the NBA standings. This is something we'll bring to you for every episode. And due to our incredible technology, you have the internet browser logo there in the front, but also there is the Eastern Conference standings. Leading the way is Philadelphia at 10-5. And there's Brooklyn after their 7th loss. They're sitting there in the 5 spot. I'll start with you, Steven. What are your reactions of the Eastern Conference standings right now?
I think it's kind of up to par. I think it's again, we're only 14, 15 games into the season. I'm not here to overreact. When I look at this Eastern Conference right now, I think it's fine. I think it's kind of like where things should be. My top 4 for once we get to the end of the season, my end of the season top 4 for the Eastern Conference, it's going to be Milwaukee 1, Brooklyn 2, Boston 3, and Philly 4. I think Philly would drop off a little bit. But all in all, I mean, it's kind of up to par so far. I'm again not nothing to overreact about.
Probably the marquee team in the East, obviously, is Brooklyn, of course. But for folks who aren't very avid, Eastern Conference fans, they may not know of all the acquisitions Cleveland has made. Cavaliers with the win, they have that tiebreaker, and they're just a game back of Brooklyn at the 6th spot. That's an insane, spot in the Eastern Conference. Robert, what are your thoughts of this conference?
I'm not overreacting just yet, but wow, seeing some teams on here that I just wouldn't expect to show up is unbelievable. Like Cleveland and New York are on this list right now. I know this is like way too early on, but I got to give credit to New York. I mean, they're playing, good enough basketball to kind of keep them within that 500. Alongside Cleveland, I think Cleveland finally is getting a rhythm going, as we saw Colin Sexton dropping over 40, and Cleveland is still believing in a man of Colin Sexton and giving him Andre Drummond. And you saw that what the Pistons have done, and woo, 3-10 this season. Wow, kind of scary, but nothing to overreact right now. I think uh, it intrigues me to see how Miami is just doing. I think just because I know COVID has really hit them right now, but I think once Miami gets out of that COVID, I think they're going to kind of climb up a bit. I think they're still going to be a top 4 Eastern Conference team
Wow.
with Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler, Bam. I think they just need a little bit more time to get over that, get over COVID and get all their players healthy. And once all that's happened, I think Miami's going to climb up to that 4th seed. I think they really proved a lot of people wrong last season by making it to the finals. So I think they're going to be able to do it again. And Andre has been to, I believe, Steven can correct me on this, 6 straight NBA finals.
I believe so. Yeah.
So, hey, I want Andre to go to 7. That'd be really cool, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'd say it's 6. I'm 2 for you there. Let's go ahead and head to the West. I think many folks believe that the Lakers would be at 1 at some point this year. I personally thought because, of the experience of this team, they wouldn't take the regular season super seriously. And ironically, you look at the right in the home and road records, the Lakers are 4-4 at home, 7-0 on the road, which is weird. That might be something we address a little later. Steven, what are your thoughts of the West overall, led by those Lakers?
Yeah, Lakers, that's the least surprising thing so far this season. They're top 5 in both offensive and defensive efficiency. When you have numbers like that, you're going to be a contender, not just in your conference, but to win the NBA Finals. I'll talk more about the Jazz later on in the episode, but I'm really liking what I've seen out of the Jazz so far. The Clippers, they need to fix things up on defense a bit. They have the talent. We saw it last year, and then they underperformed. I worry that could possibly be the case again this season. But again, don't overreact. This is a COVID season. Things are going to be wacky. We've seen it in pretty much every sport that's come back. Project Restart, going through COVID. I'm not overreacting about Denver being 7-7. I think they'll easily be back up in the top 5 equation down the road. One team that I'll probably see go down a bit is Phoenix, but I do like the prospects of making the playoffs. They have the pieces, but I see them more as like a 6 or 7 seed.
Deets?
With the Western Conference right now, Clippers have really, I think, being 10-4, a lot of people didn't think because they lost Montrezl Harrell to the Lakers that they weren't going to really be in this spot. But the signing of Serge Ibaka has, I think, proven a lot of people wrong, especially him and Kawhi have had chemistry when they won in Toronto. So the Clippers, I think, is a team that wouldn't really surprise me necessarily. I'm glad they're up there. I'm glad they figured out what they needed in that offseason. They got the job done. Utah Jazz, though, they shocked me at number 2, but Utah I think is going to prove a lot of people wrong this season. I think they're going to stay in that top 4 seed, but with looking at this, I would say, Western Conference is going to be competitive. That's all I think 6 through 8 and those teams at the 9, 10, 11, I think those 6 teams, it's going to be coming down to those final games, who gets that last playoff spot. But one stat that really intrigues me on this board is a 7-0 on the road for the LA Lakers. I mean, I gotta say, I mean, that's pretty impressive to be 7-0 on the road. I mean, I guess they're
Franchise
used to
record.
it. Wow, and there you go. See, even Nick Rice knows his Lakers history over there, but I don't know if it's because of COVID. They're used to this road stuff, but hey, shout out to the Lakers for going 7-0 on the road. That's a big time stat.
Well, I didn't think that anyone else would shout out those Lakers, but I appreciate the boost, Robert. I'll try and shout out the Warriors at some point. But right now, there's a team we got to shout out, and it's Robert's favorite team. He says he's a Warriors fan, but in reality, he's a Orlando Magic fan. And for the next 5 or 10 minutes, we are going to debut a very interesting and new segment, Orlando Magic version of our West Coast showdown, hoedown, face off. It's the Deets and the Big Skinny. They're going to break down the top 5 players in the history of the Orlando Magic. I'm very excited to be muting somebody who does not give a good enough debate answer for me. Steven, I hope you can hear me from the moon. Could you give me your top 5 Orlando Magic, my good sir?
I'll go from 1 to 5, because 1 is, I think it should be unanimous. It's Dwight Howard. You're talking about a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. Prime of his career was in Orlando. Was one of the main reasons, if not the main reason, why the Magic made it to the finals in 09, which they lost to the Lakers. But we're gonna get past that. Nick,
And
number
more the
2.
Lakers in this
Yeah,
segment.
yeah, more of the Lakers are brilliant. At number 2, I'm gonna go with Shaq. I mean, polarizing on and off the court. But this is gonna be a trend in my top 5 that not a lot of the best players in Magic history, they're not there for all that long. Talk about 4 or 5 seasons tops. Shaq is one of them. And I mean, we all know how impactful Shaq was, but we saw the majority of his success later down the line when he was with the Lakers with the Kobe Shaq show in Miami, winning that title with D Wade. So that's why I put him at 2. Number 3, number 3 and 4, it can kind of go either way in your opinions. I'm gonna go with Penny Hardaway here at 3, and number 4, I'm gonna go with Tracy McGrady. I put Penny at 3 because he was a key catalyst in that finals run for the Magic. I believe that was in '95, with Shaq, with Nick Anderson, with Horace Grant. And with Tracy McGrady at number 4, I mean, he was insane. I mean, he averaged 32 points per game, and if not for the Magic going 42 and 40 in that 02-03 season, if they just won a few more games, I think he would have won MVP. Instead, it goes to Tim Duncan of the Spurs. They went on to win the finals. So McGrady was insane. Penny was insane, but Penny slightly takes it with that taking the team to the finals. And then number 5, it's a current Magic. It's a Nikola Vucevic. Check this out. This guy ranks in the top 5 in a lot of statistical categories in the franchise history of the Magic. You're talking about number 1 in shots made. You're talking about number 3 in points. I'm pretty sure at the end of the season he'll be number 2 on that list, passing Nick Anderson. You're talking about number 2 in total rebounds. This guy's been around for 9 years. He's been a really impactful player, whether or not the team has done well or not. He's also got an all-star appearance to his name, so I'm gonna go with him for number 5, and some honorable mentions to Nick Anderson. Like I mentioned, he has the most steals in Magic history, and he's number 2 on the points list right now. And then also Jameer Nelson, another guy on that 09 finals team. And I believe he's number 1 in assists in team history. So that's my top 5 right there.
The Deets, that's a pretty interesting argument. What do you have to say for yourself?
So Steven's list is basically on point as mine, but I want to do my I guess my all-star starting 5 here for the Orlando Magic. So at point guard, I'm going Penny Hardaway. I mean, he went to the 1995 finals with Shaq. Fortunately, the Rockets beat him, the 6 seed Rockets, and that 1995 finals. No one talks about that, but that's for a different day. Shooting guard. So this was hard. I mean, this is a tough decision just because we could say Tracy McGrady could be the shooting guard in a sense, but I guess I'm gonna do a full starting five here, and this may make me lose here, but Evan Fournier. I mean, he's been with the team. He only spent 2 of his seasons with Denver. Then I'm gonna go primetime Tracy McGrady with the Orlando Magic, as Steven said, averaged 31 points, but 4-time All-Star with the Magic in his 4 seasons. He was All-Star every season. You got to go with Dwight, man. Dwight literally carried that team with Jameer Nelson, man. I remember that NBA Live 10 where it was Jameer Nelson and Dwight Howard. It was an unstoppable team. It was literally Dwight just posterizing on a video game every freaking time. But love Dwight. Got to go with him. And come on, you got to go with Shaq. I mean, Shaq's going to be on a lot of lists, which is kind of wild, to be completely honest with you. And I know Steve and I are just going to basically put him on the Lakers and the Heat, if I'm not wrong. If I'm mistaken, he can let me know. Alfonso Mourning may be the other guy he puts on. I would say 6-man wise, I'm gonna go Vucevic. It's crazy to think that the Magic have, I guess, currently have gone through so many big man, but Vucevic is the one that's really been sticking around the most, and he got his first All-Star appearance. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe 2 years ago was Vucevic's first All-Star appearance. But Evan Fournier, I know that's a tough call, but I gotta go with him at the shooting guard. I mean, he's one of the loyal guys, but also if I'm gonna give an honorable mention here, man that spent 10 seasons with the Magic and stuck around for a very long time was Jameer Nelson. You can go Horace Grant was one of them and helped him after he came off the Bulls three-peat, those first three. He came and helped the Magic and went to the finals as well. So, but that's my five. And then my 6-man being Vucevic.
Interesting. I learned something today.
May I make a quick rebuttal over here?
What? He can't make a rebuttal.
No, I want to do a comparison. I want to give you a starting five to kind of translate to my top five.
Okay.
So point
all
guard,
right, all right.
point guard will be Penny. Shooting guard will be Tracy McGrady. It's not he's definitely out of position, but because there's Dwight and Shaq, I got to take care of. And the fact that Vucevic can shoot from behind the arc, he can be labeled as like as a small forward in some sense, but his main position is definitely power forward or center. And then I gotta go with Dwight at power forward and then Shaq at center. And then between Nick Anderson and Jameer Nelson off the bench, I'd probably go with Jameer Nelson as the 6-man off the bench. Nick Anderson was great and all, but after that 95 finals, he definitely took a bit of a dip. Definitely the front heavy career for him, like tallying up all the points and whatnot. So that's my starting five.
Interesting. Great argument. All right. So I guess the debate comes down to Steven certainly loves a Jameer Nelson and a Nikola Vucevic a little more than a Robert Dieters. So I'll start with the Deets. Tell me why you're the guys that you like, Evan Fournier being one of them, why they should be considered a little higher than the guys I just mentioned.
I mean, he's been on the team since 2014-2015 season. He's basically been with Vucevic the entire time. He's been there. He averaged 18 and a half last season. That was his season high. I think Fournier is more, he can shoot the three ball. He may be defensive wise, he's not terrible, but I see what I'm kind of going with here. I feel like I'm going to lose because of this, but like I just think Evan Fournier is a great shooter, and he proved it last season. He had 18 and a half points per contest, and from 3-point range, he almost had 40%.
Interesting.
So he had one of his best seasons last year.
All right, the big skinny. You haven't told us that you're going to lose yet, so I guess you're a little more confident than him. Tell me why Nikola Vucevic should be the better option there at the 3 spot.
I think with Vucevic, with Fournier, you don't really hear of him as like the main guy, as the go-to guy for the Magic. I think that's been Vucevic. And with this top five, like you kind of been seeing the trend of in certain time periods, certain eras in Magic history, like who is the main guy? Who is the guy that once it is crunch time, who we're getting the ball to? And I think with in this time period over the last 6, 7 years as Vucevic has become the main guy for the Magic. He's been their go-to guy. With McGrady, that was the case in the early 2000s. Penny and Shaq, that was in the mid 90s. So I think it's kind of and then Dwight, mid 2000s till his departure in 2011, I believe. So it's all about who is the main guy. I don't see Fournier as the main guy. That's why I put Jameer Nelson as like my honorable mention because he was the main guy in the backcourt for the Magic in that '09 run, and Penny was kind of already that backcourt guy with Shaq in '95. So that's why I gave him the shout. So, and even with Fournier, like I think that there are a couple other guys that are better than Fournier in the history of the Magic. I mean, you can talk about Hedo Turkoglu from downtown. You can talk about Rashad Lewis, two other guys from that '09 Finals run that really impactful, whether they came off the bench or started. So that's why I didn't go with Fournier on my list. Rashard Lewis is top five in 3-point percentage in Magic history. I know he only played 4 years, but I go back to that '09 run that he was a part of.
Deets, any rebuttal there? I have like 15 seconds.
Average. Okay, so Fournier averaged more points than Rashad Lewis did. I mean, yeah, he does have that All-Star appearance, so I'll give him that. But yeah, that's all I got. So I mean, Fournier, just saying, he's a shooting guard. I'm not putting anyone out of position. I'm not
All right.
putting anyone out of position. Yeah, that's my argument.
Either way, I think we all came to the conclusion. You guys know a lot about the Magic. I'm really impressed. In fact, you guys know more than I do. I mean, maybe if I research, I'd know it, but you guys are really, really impressive. But, there's no need for compliments when we got to get to the bottom line. Who won the argument? The loser gets his screen blacked out. And in 3 and in 2, the person who won the debate was the guy, the spaceman, Mr. Al Gore. Stephen Hughes wins round 1 of this one. So the big skinny, please tell us how much more do you know about the Magic than that guy down there, that guy that doesn't really know much?
We're talking about thin margins, and to be honest with you, we have Robert and I. We're both from the Bay Area, so and we actually got to see Aaron Gordon, who's a current Magic,
Oh,
at
really?
Archbishop Midi in San Jose. We got to see him play, and to be honest with you, I thought that Robert was gonna do like the homer move and put Aaron Gordon in the top five or as an honorable
None of
mention.
y'all even brought him up.
But no, but I respect his argument. I thought this was by tiny margins, in my humble opinion. So I think Vucevic was the right choice over Fournier. No disrespect to Fournier, but he's not the number one guy for the Magic, and you know I'm glad that I'm 1-0, baby.
1-0, brought you back right in time. How does it feel, Deets?
It happens. I just got to come back next week and rebuttal, but I didn't want to pull the Aaron Gordon move as much as he is one of my favorite players in the league. He is losing dunk contests and he isn't going to participate again. So, but Magic was my favorite Eastern Conference team for about a couple seasons. And then I made the move this season to Charlotte because of, not because of LaMelo, by the way, or Gordon Hayward. It's because of Cody and Caleb Martin, the twins, baby.
One more thing. I mean, I think we'll be talking about. I've been mentioning a couple names that will be rumored around in some trade talks as we get closer and closer to the deadline. I think Aaron Gordon will definitely be one of those names. I think with the Magic, they've had some big injuries to start the season. They're not. They're you know. I think the hopelessness of them making the playoffs. I think that's pretty high up there. So you start to you start to wonder how much longer is Aaron Gordon going to be in Orlando, and could he be an impact on a playoff team? I think yes. So it'd be interesting. He's had a bit of a cold start to the season, but I think he'll be definitely a name to look out for.
I never understood why they got rid of Frank Vogel, and we just won a championship with him. So we'll gladly take your leftovers. but I always find it weird how Orlando, you know, all of us fans, at least I do, I see them as like a team that needs to rebuild. I don't know about you, Deets, but I don't think they view themselves as a team that needs to rebuild, and they don't really want to tank. We never see them at the bottom of the draft. I know they're not supposed to tank. We're not supposed to say that, but let's be honest, a couple teams do a year, but Orlando never seems to tank.
I don't know if you guys remember, but they've been the 8th seed for the last 2 seasons in the playoffs. They seem to manage like 1 win uh
Mm-hmm.
from that game 7 series ever when they play the number 1 seed, going back to, I believe, Toronto, and then we go to
It's Toronto and then
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee. Yeah.
Yeah, Toronto, Milwaukee. And they took 1 game. That's all they're known for, and then they just get swept. I mean, it's a joke. Come on, like you gotta at least. I get they're a number 8 seed, and I get that point, but it's like keep making the playoffs, but this is the result they're gonna keep getting. Like it's sad. Like you might as well just redo this entire team. Markel Fultz is out for the season. Ji is out for the season, and all they have is like big men. Like they have a Mo Mamba sitting on the bench, which is a pretty cool name. I mean, they got Taco Fall playing. They don't got Mo Mamba playing.
He was going to bring it in at some point. On that wonderful note, let's go ahead and switch topics here. We are, if you guys haven't figured out by this point, we're on Zoom. Zoom gave us a gift. We were supposed to be off the air in 40 minutes, but they let us go on a little longer. So that's great. That gives us an opportunity to go very much in depth at, because this is West Coast Hot Streak. Who's hot and who's not? It's hot and cold here on West Coast Hot Streak. So the Deets, the man who fell short, I'm feeling a little gracious. We're going to start with you. Tell me what you're thinking about down there in Nevada. By the way, he's in Nevada. The Big Skinny's in Arizona, and I'm in California. And so we got the whole West Coast covered. Deets, what do you think about right now with who's hot and who's not?
So I guess we'll start it off. I kind of want to go hot here. Let's go with the LA Lakers, 11-4, 7-0 on the road, as I mentioned. We're talking about AD, LeBron. Bringing in Schroeder, my bad. Bringing in Schroeder was great. Montrezl Harrell has been such a solid addition to that team. Kyle Kuzma still Kyle Kuzma's still trying to figure himself out, both sides of the ball, but he's getting better and better, learning from Anthony Davis and LeBron James. And I'm glad he signed that 3-year extension, and he has a option on his 3rd year. And I'm hoping Kuzma, finds himself a little bit with the Lakers, but he is such a solid piece coming off the bench. They're just so dominant. I mean, you see 2 players averaging over 20 points a game. Schroeder, who's been the point guard who literally has been feeding LeBron and AD, and that's what they wanted. They wanted. I know they lost Rondo, but I think they gained someone a little bit like Rondo, a little bit faster, a little bit quicker, a guy that can shoot the ball better. With Montrezl Harrell, he has been the man that came from the Clippers. A lot of people believe that the Clippers gave up something so valuable, and I think he's just clicked perfectly with the Lakers. I mean, basically is I think gonna become that double machine for them as much as AD is gonna be too. But I know we're in the beginning of the season, so I think those stats will keep moving up and up. But if they I think they just need to get better at home. I think they just need to keep getting more wins. But shout out to the Lakers, man. 11-4. I think they're gonna keep the hot streak going, despite the fact they did blow a 19-point deficit, which I will mention. Nick Rice against the Golden State Warriors. I will mention that. But besides that, man, as Nick and I talked before the show, in their last 6 games, they are 5-1.
So you're going Lakers hot team. That was what you brought up right here, right?
Yes.
All right. So I might as well ask, what's your cold team? No. We'll start the Big Skinny. Who's your hot team? Yeah, we'll get to cold in a second.
My hot team, we're going to stay in the West. We're going to go with the Utah Jazz. They played last night. They were playing at home against New Orleans. They won that, so they extended their winning streak to 6 games. They had a massive road trip that they just came off of recently. They included wins in a win in Milwaukee. They're 7-2 on the road this year. Both those losses came in New York, so hopefully throughout the rest of the season. If a game is not played in New York, the Utah Jazz are a good shout to possibly win that. They're third. They play really well defensively. They're third in the NBA so far in points given up per game. And a player to watch. A lot of people like to talk about Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. Those are the two main guys in Utah. But for the Jazz, the player to watch right now is Jordan Clarkson. In my opinion, he's the early favorite to win Sixth Man of the Year. Coming off the bench, he's playing like 25 minutes a game. He's averaging 17.5 points per game. He's shooting 43% from downtown. It's just career numbers across the board for this guy. And on a consistent level to start the season, his 21.39 player efficiency rating is first on the team, ahead of guys like Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. So keep an eye on him. That just speaks to that's a terrific guy to come off the bench. I as I said earlier, I think the Jazz, or maybe I didn't. I think the Jazz are definitely one of the top 4 teams in the Western Conference for me, moving forward. But yeah, loving what I'm seeing out of the team from Salt Lake.
Yeah, it's a great pick. It would have been nice if Jordan Clarkson could have averaged like, I don't know, 2 points per game alongside LeBron a couple of years ago in the finals. I digress. Yep. It just seemed like he missed everything. My hot team is Brooklyn. They went into today winners of 4 straight, and even against the Cavs, who are shocking a lot of teams as the 6th seed right now in the East, even with the Brooklyn loss, they came back down by 14 in the 4th quarter. So, even in the loss, they looked really good. Harden might just lead the league in assists. That is foreshadowing for this next segment. Robert, who's your hot player? And who are your 2 hot players? Did you bring in 2?
I brought in 2. Yes.
Oh.
So I kind of want to touch up on Jordan Clarkson. That was going to be my hot player basically for this one, because he's going to 6th Man of the Year, but he has contributed to the Utah Jazz. He has proven that he can come off the bench. He can get the points that they need. And that's why they're getting the wins right now. I think he's helping out Donovan Mitchell, kind of bringing down the pressure a little bit. We saw Utah last season go in the playoffs, lose to Denver. And Donovan felt like the weight of the shoulders was on him. Well, I think Jordan Clarkson was like, hey, man, I'm going to come in. I really want to make sure that, I'm going to be the guy that can get it done off the bench, and you don't have to worry about a thing. So I got to give Jordan Clarkson the hot hand. I think he's a runner-up right now for 6th Man of the Year. Got some tough contention, but I think Clarkson could be the man. On another note, this team's 6-8 right now, but I'm going to give another hot player, and I'm going to go to the East on this one. It's going to go Zach LaVine. He's got career highs. He's bounced around a little bit, but now he is on a solidified team with Chicago. I mean, I know he only went from Minnesota to Chicago, but I thought he was going to be a Timberwolf for a long time, but then moves on to Chicago, and he's been the last 3 seasons has been averaging over 20 points a game. And I feel like with Zach LaVine, I'm hoping he's the type of player that can bring an all-star or bring some type of big player around, man. I mean, dunk contests aren't going to win you games, but I feel like we're underappreciating this man. He's 6'5" out of UCLA. I just want to see we've seen the Bulls. We haven't seen the Bulls not that good. I mean, I guess I would say D Rose was maybe the last time they've been that good. And Zach LaVine is now trying to be the guy that can get other players around him. I mean, Lauri Markkanen, I guess, has been stepping up in a sense, and he's been getting season highs as he keeps progressing. But Zach LaVine, I think, could be the guy if he stays this way and he keeps hitting his career highs. I think he can get another all-star in Chicago, and that's why he's going to be my hot player, even though the Bulls are 6-8.
The big skinny.
I'll go. My first player is going to be Bradley Beal. We'll just make it basic as possible. He leads the league in scoring. He's averaging just a touch under 35 points per game. When that's the case, you're going to be on everybody's hot list. He's shooting at a career high pace.
Yeah, he didn't bring him in there.
He's shooting at a really good rate. Right now, he's about like 49.5%, which is on pace for a career high. 5 rebounds, 5 assists. But Washington isn't doing all that well. So it's, it's the team success is overshadowing how terrific he's been doing so far. And I've said it once in this episode, I'll say it again. He will be the top trade target. It's just a matter of which team has the cap space to take up his contract. It's a big contract, so that's gonna be the question. But so far, he's been a man on a mission. With no John Wall, it's the one man show in Washington. I don't think the bringing in Russ is not going to really change anything. So Bradley Beal's my number one. Number two, a guy that Detroit gave up on really easily. A guy who he didn't do all that bad last year, but this year he has really came onto the scene. A fourth year guy out of UNLV. It's Christian Wood. I mean, just jumps all across the board. He's gained full-time start. He's a full-time starter now at the center position. He's averaging just a touch under 24 points per game. He's averaging 10 and a half rebounds a game. He's shooting, for a center, he's 36% from downtown. That's not bad at all. The Rocket, again, another guy whose team success is overshadowing his individual success. But a terrific pickup for Houston. Hopefully, as they get the cap space, they've given away James Harden, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook. Hopefully they can get some cap space and kind of work a team around this guy, because this guy, as a center, he's kind of the real deal. Again, I'm overreacting a little bit, but so far it's been great what we've been seeing out of this guy.
Yeah, when you're bringing up a Detroit center that left the team, I thought you were immediately going to go Andre Drummond. But Christian Wood, man, he's every bit as good as that guy right now.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's insane. I didn't go any big guys for my hot players. I went James Harden. James Hardee's was pretty good for the Nets. You got to believe when he loses 20 pounds, 25 pounds, he sheds off that dad bod and he'll end up being pretty good in Brooklyn. And then I also have Detroit's Jeremy Grant, who I loved watching him when the Lakers played the Nuggets in the Western Finals. And he was just a monster. And I felt that's the guy the Lakers need to get. And Detroit snagged him, speaking of the Pistons, and he scored at least 22 in 12 straight games. In fact, his scoring average in the last 12 is better than LeBron's scoring average in the last 12. So go figure. Jeremy Grant's been awesome. With that, let's go to players that have not been awesome. Who's been cold, Robert, over the last couple weeks?
Okay, I know maybe not the last couple weeks, but over his
Right.
career, he is just declining. I mean, I want to go Eastern Conference here first, but this team only has 3 wins this season. He's only 31. By the way, this is supposed to be like your prime years. You're supposed to be like really like your stats supposed to be up there where like Blake Griffin was with the Clippers, but I guess when you go to Detroit, you slowly see numbers go down. 12 almost 13 points a game. I mean, come on, man. I thought Detroit might have gotten a really good player, and I know he fought through injuries in the playoffs for Detroit when Detroit was in the when they were in the playoffs, but I think Griffin's just losing the groove. I don't know how long he's gonna last in that league if like his numbers keep declining. I don't see Blake Griffin in the league that much longer, or he's gonna be, I guess, maybe considered a trade piece, goes to a different team and progresses there. But I don't think Detroit's the spot for Blake Griffin. It's just showing how the team is doing in general. So I got to go Blake Griffin on the cold player. I'll go to that first one, and then Steven can go next, and I'll go to my next one.
My first cold player is gonna be Devontae Graham out of Charlotte. You would think that after last season, career like 18 points per game, talking about shooting from 37% from downtown, which isn't great, but for a second year guy, like you're okay. Like we see the potential. He's gonna make that jump in the third year. We haven't. So far in the draft, you were thinking that LaMelo, by selecting LaMelo Ball, that's a good compliment for Devontae Graham, and it hasn't been all that good of a start to the season for Devontae Graham. LaMelo Ball, he's been all right, but for Graham, you're seeing a dip in points from 18 to 12. You're seeing a dip in 3-point percentage from 37% down to 32%, that's a big decline of 5% for a guy in his third season. Even his free throw percentage, I feel like this is a guy that's kind of lacking confidence to start the season. Was shooting 82% from the free throw line. Now he's at 77. So hopefully he can pick it up a bit. The team is they have the prospect of making the playoffs, in my opinion, but that's only if Devontae Graham can get things going. If he doesn't, I think that'll be a reflection of how the team does, and that's underachieve.
Oh, okay. These.
For my second player, I'm gonna go a big man in the Western Conference. This team's 8-6 right now. The Spurs are rolling. I think they kind of found their groove on offense, but I think one person I think is kind of getting left out a little bit is LaMarcus Aldridge. He's averaging less than 15 points a game, less than 5 rebounds a game. He's not even leading in rebounds right now. Rudy Gay has better rebounds than he does. DeJounte Murray, though, has been looking really solid. I think he's becoming more of the scoring piece that's taking away from LaMarcus Aldridge, but this is one of LaMarcus Aldridge's. I think this is like his worst season points per game wise, but I know we don't look at that all the time, but LaMarcus Aldridge did sign a big deal to be with San Antonio, and I don't think he's performing to that contract. I mean, San Antonio didn't make the playoffs last season, and I don't know if DeMar's going to be. DeMar's been kind of more of the guy now, stepping up more than LaMarcus Aldridge was. Aldridge was kind of the guy in San Antonio for a minute. Well, I mean, it was Kawhi, but then when Kawhi was out, it was LaMarcus, and LaMarcus has just not been performing to his potential. And I think he's got to step it up a little bit here. But we've been seeing from the Spurs, Patty Mills, DeJounte Murray, DeMar DeRozan, Lonnie Walker has also been a big role, like the guards. And then small forward DeMar DeRozan have been more of the main offensive point for Greg Popovich. I just don't know how much time is going to be left on the ticking clock for LaMarcus Aldridge. But he's just been a cold player lately, and he hasn't been what he has been with Portland and his early 2 seasons with San Antonio.
And my second guy that's been really cold so far to start the season is Aaron Baines, center for the Toronto Raptors. He had a career year. He did an excellent job in limited games. He played in 42, started 28 of them, and the majority of those starts came early in the season when he was filling in for the suspended DeAndre Ayton. If y'all did not remember that, he was putting up career highs
I didn't
in
know he was
points.
suspended, yeah.
Yeah, he Aaron Baines, he was putting up career highs in points. He had 11 and a half, and rebounds. He was putting up by 5.5 a game. If 3-point percentage, he shoots about 4 3-pointers a game, but he's shooting 35%, which is not that bad for a center. That's something that NBA teams like to see. And as he was a free agent over this past off season, the Toronto Raptors were thinking he could be a decent replacement for an aging Marcus Gasol. Uh, he started every single game so far this season, but the numbers just aren't there, man. He's shooting 4 points per game. He's shooting 15% from downtown, 36% from the field. These are all career lows. It's unfortunate to see. He's been really cold, and he's probably going to be losing out on his starting job really soon, especially the way the Raptors are heading. Probably the biggest underachievers so far this year. A team with a lot of talent, led by Pascal Siakam. They're just not doing the job.
Yeah, I didn't know. That's really unfortunate. And on our West Coast heat check, hot and cold, not just for players and teams. We'd be remiss to not also bring up who are the cold teams. I picked Tim Hardaway and Harrison Barnes as my cold players. You would think with Aaron Fox playing as well as he has, all the attention he grabs, you'd think Harrison Barnes would be shooting better than he is. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's probably a career low. He's been shooting pretty bad. Fox put up 42 a couple nights ago, and he had the 12-point performance. So he's got to get that thing going. In terms of the cold teams, I'll go first. Orlando has lost 7 straight. During our broadcast, they just dropped another one to Minnesota. So they went from the last team to have a loss this year to a team that I don't know if they're going to get a win this month. I think I could speak of all of us. I think that's the coldest team in the NBA right now. Dietz, I challenge you to find a team that's colder than the Orlando Magic.
So to correct you, Orlando did win tonight by
Only
1
one? They
on
were down by
Cole.
10 with like 2 minutes left.
Cole Anthony hit a buzzer beater 3 to win it, so they snapped that streak
Oh no.
and won tonight. So
Oh
just to give you a heads up, yeah, Cole Anthony has been kind of stepping up in a sense without
well,
Markel
yeah.
Fultz.
Sorry, I just took the reputation of the host totally down the drain. I'm completely sorry.
But I guess when we were giving our predictions out, I picked Orlando as well. And that being said, Markel Fultz is out for the season. We have Jonathan Isaac out for the season. This team did lose 6 straight until winning against an injured Minnesota Timberwolves team. I mean, that's not impressive. I mean, I don't know. I just don't think they're not gonna be that AC team this year. They're gonna be struggling all year long. But I guess a positive you can look at a cold team like that is they're really gonna get Cole Anthony, the rookie, a lot of minutes and a lot of time, and he's gonna be working with Vucevic, Aaron Gordon as 2 of the main guys, Evan Fournier. But I, the Magic just have not looked good. Out of those games, I believe 3 or 4 of them gave up over 100, 120 points or more. Even 2 games were over 130 points given up. So that defense has some issues. Without Jonathan Isaac, they just don't look the same. Markel Fultz was kind of keeping that team together at the point guard position, but just not looking the same. So I gotta go with my cold team. I gotta go Orlando Magic as well.
And then my cold team, I'm gonna go to the Western Conference. I'm gonna go with the Sacramento Kings, a team with a lot of young talent, with De'Aaron Fox, with Marvin Bagley. You would think that this team would kind of take the next step in the right direction with this talent. They started the year 3-1, but since then they have dropped 2. They've lost 8 out of their last 10. They've lost 3 in a row. They're playing right now against the Clippers. That losing streak looks like it'll extend to 4. They're down 82-67 right now. And I want to just take a listen to this. I mean, heading into today, the Kings are giving up 123 and a half points per game. That is
Oh my
that's dead last in the NBA. You're talking about their 8 straight games in which they had given up 122 points or more. That's just not going to fly. They can score points, but if you're just letting up all these points almost every game, you're not going to win. It's just that plain simple. And right now, it looks like they're on pace to give up another 122 plus point game. So until they fix things up defensively, it's just nothing's going to change for Sacramento, and that could possibly lead to a mid-season or end of season move to possibly let go of Luke Walton. We'll just have to see.
Yeah, well, that's fascinating. The Lakers look like they were in somewhat good hands with Luke Walton. They make the change, and then, here goes Sacramento with, we certainly wish them all the best in the future. By the way, appreciate that stat, the big skinny. You saved the reputation just temporarily of my gaffe talking about the Magic winning or losing. We have only 3 minutes left in this episode. So, unless we were going to talk more depressing cold players, let's go to another sad topic to wrap this thing up. And it was the COVID outbreak from the Washington Wizards. They had so much COVID, they couldn't play any games. Same with a couple other NBA teams. Do you feel, Dietz, I'll start with you. Do you feel that the NBA is handling the COVID situation the right way this season?
I think they are. They got to do the contact tracing. And I know they're doing their best job at it right now. This is all new. They didn't want to go to the bubble. They decided to do it this way and be able to play at home and away. I don't. but teams not having 0 fans to 25% capacity. But I think it's gonna be a crazy year. I think once this vaccine comes out and this vaccine is given to everybody, I think the NBA can somewhat go back to normal, but that's not, I don't think it's going to be this year. I don't know how next season's going to be. Are they going to even allow fans? But how much revenue are they going to lose without the fans being
Yeah.
in the arena is my biggest concern. But the way they're handling it, I think that, they're handling it the best they can. I just don't want to see more and more teams get COVID and then we lose basically an entire NBA season again. And then we have to go back to the bubble basically, and they have to make a deal with Disney or wherever, whatever they got to do to get games going. But I think the way they're doing it right now, yes, it's a little risky, but I mean, it's all a learning lesson at this point.
I think for me, I mean, it's not just the NBA that's dealing with this and kind of just going with the flow. I think it's kind of like the American or really the sports crisis in our world. I mean, COVID has been impacting every single sport imaginable in this world, and we're kind of just learning on the fly that okay, like how are we going to work out this contact tracing? Is this the most reliable thing to do with travel or staying in a bubble, like Robert mentioned? But I think the NBA, they've done all right. I think that I think no league is going to be perfect with this, and I think that a lot of us fans are expecting perfection because NBA, all these leagues, they have a lot of money, but they're losing a lot of money. I mean, the NHL reported. I mean, this is a different sport and all that, but the NHL they reported losses of billions of dollars this past season. So you have to think that this is going to be the same thing for the NBA, for the MLB, for the NFL. So I think the NBA has done the best they can. I think that um, their campaign of taking these of doing these vaccines, rolling them out to all these players as a PSA is a good thing, so that it could prompt people like ourselves, just any old normal Americans, to get the vaccine themselves to finally end the spread of COVID. But
Mhm.
I would probably say that this year is going to be really wacky this entire year because of COVID. It won't be until next season until we actually see a return to normalcy, and not just to the NBA, but for all sports.
Well, I can think I could speak to all of us. We're rooting for that to happen as soon as possible. We're so excited to see the NBA getting going. It was a very fun first episode, guys, and I think a success, except for the fact, that I predicted the wrong score. Very embarrassed about that. I will be crying in my bed all week. So, for the Big Skinny and the Deets, I am the host, Nick Rice, saying so long for now. We'll see you next week, same time, same place. Until then, this is the West Coast Heat Check.